I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
If Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Yeah, this episode we are talking Shazam and the black suit from Justice League, or what should have been the black suit from Justice League.
I like stopping short and pausing just to catch Shane off guard.
I'm more prepared these last couple episodes than I was before with this whole new format and everything.
I just stopped short on Shane, and he shit.
And I'm like, jump in.
All right, like Shane said, we're going to talk about Henry Cavill possibly being in Shazam. So we'll start off with that. Go for it, Shane.
All right, so this is a tweet coming from Danny Garcia, which, for those who don't know, Danny Garcia is actually The Rock's ex-wife, who is, I believe she's a producer. I know she has a lot to do with The Rock's Seven Bucks Productions. So it's pretty interesting that this tweet comes from her, considering who The Rock is playing. So Danny Garcia says, "Who is this man? What are we saying? What are we planning? Oh, it's good. You'll thank me later." At Garcia Companies, and it's with a picture of her talking to Henry Cavill on the set of the Shazam movie.
What we could presume is Henry Cavill.
We presume, exactly.
It's a silhouette.
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's Henry Cavill. It is a silhouette.
It could be another buff white guy.
It's darkened. Yeah, with that beautiful jawline and
It's a chest. Look at the chest. That's how I can tell.
yeah, exactly.
I know exactly his chest hair pattern.
Gay!
Yeah, I mean, that's been rumored for a while. People keep putting it out there, but, really at this point, the media is 50-50 whether or not to write on shit. I mean, I remember they were also saying Nick Fury was going to be in Captain Marvel, and then Nick Fury's like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I got no contract. He was all pissed off because he's like, how is Nick Fury not in the black superhero movie? Because he wasn't in Black Panther either. That was a great one.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
You've mentioned Marvel movies. I just read that you're going to come back in Captain Marvel. Is that correct? Have you heard this?
No. I haven't signed the contract, haven't seen the script. I talked to Bree the other day. She didn't say anything. She's the only person I know that's actually in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been rumored to be in several different Marvel movies that I haven't shown up in, I wasn't in, the superhero argument movie, and I'm not in Avengers 3 and 4. They're shooting them now. They haven't called me yet, They wouldn't let me go to Black Pantherville, so it's kind of like...
They've forgotten about you.
So how you gonna make a Black Marvel movie and not let Nick Fury show up in it?
That is
anyway,
fantastic.
So it could be, and I mean, they've been rumoring this for a while that he would be in Shazam. That's curiosity, It's kind of weird to have Superman and Shazam in the same movie. Like, I mean, that's cool to see, but the idea that Shazam and Superman exist in the same movie at the same time, I mean, who's gonna stop that?
From what I think it's going to be brief cameos, probably at the beginning and then maybe at the end, building up to Black Adam. Shazam is, I can't think of his name, but the kid who turns into Shazam.
Billy Batson.
Yeah, thank you. Billy Batson is a huge Superman fan. There've actually been some set photos of him in a Superman shirt, which I own the same one, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But so he's a big Superman fan, so I feel like that's going to be part of it, is kind of like the early parts of the movie, and then Superman will go off doing his own thing, and then Shazam will have his movie, and then maybe at the end to kind of tie in what could possibly be in the future. I don't really think Superman's going to have a whole lot to do with it. I don't think it's going to be the Spider-Man Homecoming Iron Man thing where Tony's like in and out throughout the whole thing, and in this case Superman. That's just my opinion. What's that?
In and out of Peter's aunt? Okay.
Oh. Damn it. I didn't hear you. That's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Bazinga. So that's from my perspective, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be some kind of cameo service, but again, like I said, it's still going to be like, well, shit, where is he? Maybe they'll be before he died. I mean, everybody is speculating that those kids in that annoying cell phone footage was possibly Billy Batson.
Oh yeah,
everybody's been speculating that, and that's kind of what leads up. So maybe he's dead during the Shazam time. I don't know. But then where was Shazam during Justice League? God damn it!
I know. See, they don't fucking think. They don't think ahead. They're like, oh yeah, this sounds good.
Let's just throw Henry Cavill in.
We'll see.
It's not part of the DC universe. That's why.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Confirmed. All right, so there's that speculation out of the way. Take that with a grain of salt and see if my insider source can find out what's going on. Okay, so now we got Michael Wilkinson speaking some shit about Black Suit Superman.
Oh, yeah. So this article that I'm referencing comes from IGN News. And basically, Michael Wilkinson was speaking to Digital Spy. He said the idea of including the Black Suit in Justice League fascinated filmmakers. In the death and return of Superman's story, the superhero sports a black outfit after being resurrected. And this is the direction Zack Snyder and the rest of the creative team wanted to go with at first. And then this is the quote from Wilkinson. He said, "When we were prepping Justice League, at first, it seemed that it might be a logical choice for the look of Superman when he's resurrected," Wilkinson said. Zack is extremely respectful and passionate about the depiction of Superman in comic books and graphic novels, and traditionally, when he is resurrected,
that's not true. He hates
in
Superman.
The black suit. Yeah, clearly. He hates him. Fuck you, Snyder.
That's why he wanted to kill him so bad. He hates Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Not because he had a plan, because he hates him. I completely agree.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah. So the article continues, however, as the project developed, Justice League's tone changed and a more colorful image of Superman was needed. As a result, the black suit had been scrapped in favor of the traditional red and blue costume. The next quote from Michael Wilkinson, "But as the tone of the film developed and we were in pre-production, the filmmakers felt that the classic red and blue suit seemed more appropriate to our story and our script. It seemed that a more positive, upbeat image of Superman was what was needed. The idea of hope and that the world could in fact be saved was important, so that's the direction we went."
Okay, so interesting that I think we even speculated about this before, that we were a little surprised that Zack wouldn't have a mullet or black suit in The Death of Superman, the resurrection anyway. So we were kind of surprised about that, but according to Wilkinson, I mean, there was tons of concept art that you could see where Henry Cavill is wearing the black suit. So, I mean, at least at one point they had the idea of putting it on him. But one thing I just kind of want to go back to a little bit, because he talks about how the filmmakers changed their mind over time. I think he's referring to basically the producers and maybe Jeff Johns and others.
Right.
Was back a little while ago on Vero, a guy named Nick Albright sent a message out, or whatever. I don't know what Vero does. They Vero'd out a message towards Zack Snyder talking about the black suit in the deleted scene. Nick Albright saying, "I'm rewatching hashtag Man of Steel, and I'm starting to think that the deleted scene of hashtag Justice League originally was intended to be more than just a normal Easter egg. I think it was going to be a callback to this line and theme from Man of Steel. All these changes you're going through, one day you're going to think of them as a blessing. And when that day comes, you're going to have to make a choice of whether you're going to stand proud in front of the human race or not. Clark deliberately chose to return to his classic blue and red suit instead of the dark black suit." And then Snyder replied to him saying, "I think, of course, it's that." And he put in parentheses, "what you said." And that now, in one sense, he has been born twice, once on Krypton, once on Earth. It's the reality that he now is starkly aware of as he moves through the ship. Whether or not Zack changed his mind, if he did have him in the black suit or not, I mean, ultimately, he came up with the reason why he wouldn't go to the black suit, in his mind anyway, the symbolism of him passing up the suit anyway, instead of getting into it, is that. So I think we've mentioned this on the show before, we talked about this before, but I thought that was kind of interesting because Wilkinson says that he did want him in the suit, and then I guess Snyder's backup plan was to have this type of symbolism instead, since he couldn't have the black suit.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things just reading the quotes from Wilkinson is I'm curious who the filmmakers are. At what point the change was made. Because even though he does say that Zack is very devoted to this character and doing it the right way, essentially. he then refers to them as the filmmakers as a whole made a change. So I'm curious at what point the change was made. And yeah, he obviously, you know, with the Vero exchange with Zack Snyder, where he's talking about like, yeah, you know, now he's being born again, and he's kind of coming to terms with who he is and the decisions that he needs to make. And, you know, the fantastic quote from Man of Steel from Pa Kent, the gentleman on Vero, kind of ties into that. So it's pretty interesting. And ultimately, I mean, in the Snyder Cut, I think I would have been a little disappointed to not see him in the black suit, just because it is the traditional thing to do. You know, I was rooting for the black suit, the full on mullet, and the beard all the way. But it sounds like if it was Snyder who was the one who made that change, he had a reason for it. And instead of him just coming back in a black suit, you know, for no reason, you know, essentially, he was going to have it where, well, here's a different suits you can wear that are through the ship, and who do you decide to be ultimately? And he decides to go with, you know, the more hopeful color configuration, essentially.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with what's going on with this Justice League shit. I see so many people always talking about, you know, stop talking about this. Justice League was dead already. Well, that's fine. But this is probably one of the most fascinating movies that technically was made but isn't made. the thing, the aura surrounding it is just, it's fascinating. And for some reason, when people just don't give a shit about it, I'm a little surprised by that, because if you just like movies in general, I figured this would be pretty fascinating shit. Like how this all went down. Yeah. I mean, the way they did the behind the scenes shit in the Blu-ray, from what I've seen, I don't own the Blu-ray, and I won't own the Blu-ray unless it's a Zack Snyder Blu-ray. I mean, it all just looks like normal, you know. They have Zack Snyder in several scenes doing the motions with the actors. I mean, it looks like a production that just went so smooth. It went so well, but and really it didn't. It was a complete freaking. I was trying to think of a better terminology than abortion, but whatever. It's a complete fucking abortion of the system, but WB is pretending that it wasn't as bad as it was. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Zack Snyder keeps laying down the cryptic messages on Vero. I don't know. We'll see what happens. He could just be spinning us around, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be something that I fade away from anytime in the near future, and especially the more that I watch Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and I wonder what could have been. It just frustrates and infuriates me. And then as on a daily basis, we're getting more and more that are coming out. Whether it's, you know, this article with Wilkinson, I mean, that's nothing controversial. It's just more details. And as more details start to surface, you can start to piece certain things together. As Matt said, Zack Snyder kind of on Vero, you know, throwing out these little nuggets just to keep the fish biting, essentially, of like, fuck, what does that mean? You know, and it really makes you wonder. And I think because Matt and I are so conditioned with the whole wrestling world, and we know that there's always what you think happened and what they are going to present to you with what happened, you know, in forms of documentaries and like, oh, here's all the controversy that happened with this. And then there's what really happened. And shoot interviews and stuff like that, you start to see some of that surface, and you can kind of piece together certain things. So Matt and I are conditioned to look at this in a different light of like, okay, there's some shit that went down, and where the fuck did it change, and why did it change, and what's the reality of it, and then more and more start surfacing. So that's kind of, I guess, where, for lack of a better term, where the conspiracy theorists start to pop out, because it's just fascinating. As Matt said, it really keeps the wheels turning of like, what happened, where is this gonna go? Are we gonna get the Richard Donner type cut, you know, eventually, you know, where it's 20 years down the road, or 10 or 5 or whatever, of like, okay, here you go, here's what the director's vision was. So it's really intriguing, and you know, we'll continue to see.
Yep, and we'll continue to talk about Justice League until the day this channel blows up.
Exactly.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.